through shit. We're all gonna come back.
We're fired.
You are not allowed in Mexico. You don't like us, we don't like you. Don't go there. Stay in your country. Figure it out. Vacation, I don't know, maybe Nebraska perhaps. One of the
on the break. Maybe I'll call the ICE hotline. I don't know if I'll have enough time.
Thousands of Metro Atlantans are finding out they are no longer eligible for food.
Got him. Got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, America is back. We are now holding people accountable for their actions. The EBT community is in shambles. Get a job. J-O-B.
I come from a very hardworking family. I've done everything but
with it because after DeSantis cracked down on immigrants in Florida, I'm assuming he voted for the Senate workforce. Bloomberg reports the bids.
Welcome to the Daily Read, and I am your host, Marcus Gentry. Now today, we're going to talk about the pattern. I keep telling people I always see the pattern, and I've been scouring the internet for the pattern for this week that I was going to present to you. I'm going to present to you 3 stories. One of immigration, food stamps getting taken, and the farms are going to lose a lot of crops this year. And I know you're thinking that, what does this have to do with each other? There's a clear pattern here. And I'm going to make it clear to you if you stick around to the end. If you like the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. And I want to give a shout out to Pink Book Lessons also. She's funny. You guys need to go see Pink Book Lessons on YouTube. Look up her channel. She's hilarious. Let's get into the show.
The bids, motherfucker.
The Daily Read. Your source for news, politics, sports, and all things trending. Here's your host, Marcus Gentry.
Mexican were a thing. Biden. I went to work. They said, "What are you doing here? Trump won. We don't need you anymore." I said, "Biden."
I'm back, bitch. It only took 2 days or a couple hours, you guys, and I'm back in the U.S. See, I told you guys, this immigration shit ain't gonna stop nothing, you guys. Nothing. It's not gonna do shit. We're all gonna come back. Nothing's gonna happen. I'm just waiting for my ride now, but you guys, I'm back. I'm back. And I don't know what y'all think. If y'all wanna hate me, but I'm back in the U.S. I can smell the chicken nuggets, the hamburgers. I just gotta watch out for ice around this parking lot because those be hiding.
I'll take us the fuck out of here. I'm doing this shit again. Look what the fuck do your house. Look what the fuck do your street. Come get it, bitch.
A few moments later. You're fired.
Now I want to say something about this guy right here. I worked in construction before for almost 7 years. And I'm going to tell you, that's some hard back-breaking work. And everybody's going to get touched by the Trump administration. Everybody. They're taking food stamps. They're sending immigrants who do a lot of hard work here in America. And they do the hard work because they're trying to stay here and make American dollars. It's the equivalent of being a drug dealer because they make a lot of money. When you got $1 to 56 pesos, that's a lot of money in their home country. That's why they come here. They don't come here to commit crimes. Are there criminals that creep across the border? Yes, there are. But these people come over here to make the American dollar. Everybody's going to be touched by this because you might have that sister or cousin that might call you because her food stamps got taken and she know you work. So she might say, "Hey, cuz, hey, bruh, you know, hey, friend, can I get a couple of dollars, man? I need to feed me and my kids. You see, everybody's going to be touched by this. But there's a pattern that you guys need to recognize. And I'm going to explain that pattern to you during the show. Stick around to the end. I'm going to explain it to you.
You are not allowed in Mexico. You don't like us, we don't like you, don't go there. Stay in your country. Figure it out. Vacation, I don't know, maybe Nebraska perhaps. What are the red states that you love so much? Stay there. Don't have margaritas, don't have tequila, no tacos, no enchiladas, none of that for you.
Oh, yeah? What are you gonna do? You gonna come take it out of my ham? I'm gonna eat half this plate during the break. Maybe I'll call the ICE hotline. I don't know if I'll have enough time.
For thousands of Metrolandans are finding out they are no longer eligible for food stamps. The change affects Cobb, Gwinnett, and Hall counties. Channel 2 Sophia Choi is live in Cobb County. And Sophia, this involves able-bodied adults who are now required to go to work.
Got it! Got it!
I just got a letter from DHS. They have cut off my food stamps.
Ladies and gentlemen, America is back. We are now holding people accountable for their actions. The EBT community is in shambles. That's right.
Cash assistance, disability for me, all 6 of my kids.
Who are the men? Who are the 6 disciples who sat down and said, you know what? Procreation is the one. Who are those men? Why? Does that say 3.3 thousand? She get 3,000 a month.
And my Section 8. What do they...
This woman gets $3,000 a month. Now, I'm going to tell you, the people who should be getting food stamps, to be honest with you, are morbidly obese women and men. And when I say morbidly obese, I mean so big that you got to sit down at the stove just to cook. Those are big people. Those people can't just get up and go to work right away. They have to put the work in and lose some of that weight. But a woman like this, she look like she might be blowed out a little bit, but she looks like she's capable of going to work. Now, she gets $3,000 in food stamps. $3,000. She had 6 kids by 6 different men. These kids are a check for her. She might love her kids. I'm not going to say she don't. But those kids are a check for her. That's not including what she might be getting in child support. That's not including the fact that her rent might be $50. Because let's be clear, people. Let's be clear. When you get Section 8, you don't pay $1,600 to $1,800 a month in rent. You pay like maybe $50 to $100. The government subsidizes most of this. You see, the pattern when it comes to the food stamps, listen carefully. The pattern when it comes to the food stamps is these women be delusional. They get out here, have kids, but don't want to have a man to run their household, which is the natural order of things. Okay? Listen very carefully. Some of my red pill community guys might agree with me on this. But a lot of these women are getting out here, getting all of this money, and the money has replaced the man. So now the woman gets to decide how to spend that money and what to do with that money. And she don't have a man to stand by her and stand over her to guide her and them kids through good times and troubled times. For some of the Christians out there, they call it having a man cover you, being covered by a man. But we're not going to get into the biblical parts of it. A lot of these women in America have gotten to the point where they rather have the money than the man, unless they want their sexual needs met. Then they'll go to a bar, go to a club, or see somebody at a Walmart, you know, or visit some old friend or old fuck buddy. That's what they call them, fuck buddies, work husbands, you know. And no one is marrying these women. So now the pattern is they getting this money, getting rid of the man, except when they need their sexual needs met or they need babies to create more money, free money. But the money's not free because we have trillions of dollars in debt. The government is subsidizing millions of people in this country who are able to work. I want y'all to stick a pin in this. This is very crucial because it's going to come back towards the end of the show when I show you the pattern, the overall pattern of what the Trump administration is doing. And I always say, if a president, a senator, or any kind of government official does something right, even if I don't like them personally, I'm going to let it be known. And this is one of those things that has been done right. Let's continue on.
Expect me to do.
Get a job. J.O.B.
They literally cut my food stamp card off. It's 0 balance. They took everything. I was just at Myers to get some groceries. I had a cart full of groceries, over $600 worth of crap. I went to go slide my car. It's gone. It's all gone.
I found out something else. I don't know if y'all heard or not, but Trump is getting rid of that Section 8 and EBT for these people that don't want to get out here.
That last woman you saw, that last woman on the screen, she just like that other woman. Okay? These women might be a little bit chubby. You know, we call them pogs. In the porn industry, they call them pogs. You know, fat white women, thick white women. But these women might be a little chubby, but at the same time, they are capable of getting out here and working. And what's the first thing a woman says when somebody says, what do you want in a man? She wants a provider. And Uncle Sam has been the provider for most of these women. So now that Trump is in office and him and his administration has started hacking off food stamps, now you gotta either go back to your baby daddy or find a new man that's gonna come into this household with all these badass kids. That's what's finna happen. Remember, I said there's a pattern to all of this. Stick a pin in this because it's gonna come back towards the end of the show.
And go to work. Your time is up, baby. Y'all, I know most people like us really not feeling Trump, but I'm kind of feeling him on what he's saying about this. Now, how many of y'all have family members, friends, people you know that's been living off Section 8 for 20 years? They rent $3. They don't go to work. Not that they can't go to work, they don't want to go to work. Now, let me say this on the sidebar.
Now listen what she said. Listen carefully. She said, how many of you know someone who has been living off of Section 8 for 20 years? They rent is $3. Rent is not $3, people. I had a 4-bedroom house paying almost $1,800, and that's on the low end in a decent neighborhood. Most houses like that, the one I stayed in, go for $2,100. I looked up on the deal. You got studio apartments in Chicago for $1,600, and we all know what a studio is. A studio is not even, you don't even have your own bedroom. It's just one big room with a kitchenette, and you got maybe a full bed couch. So somebody is paying this rent. That woman's rent is not $3. The government is paying the rent. So what's happening is it adds on to the trillions of dollars of debt. For 20 years, if a person stays on Section 8 and getting food stamps for 20 years, somebody is paying that. Because these renters, the reason why renters love Section 8, they rather deal with people from Section 8 because they know the government is going to pay that money. That woman can stay in that house for $3 a month all she want to, but somebody's going to pay $1,800 a month. So multiply that by 20 years. It's 12 months in a year. Multiply that by 20 years. That's a lot of money for one individual. Then you multiply that by millions of women and men who are on Section 8. It's a pattern.
They do have some people that need Section 8. Some people that, you know, medically they can't go to work, or, you know, they just can't physically. I get it. I'm not talking to you.
Let me tell you about that. Remember what I said. Morbidly obese people might need Section 8. Handicapped people might need Section 8. Mentally ill people, you know, they just can't go to a workplace because they're physically, mentally ill. They might need Section 8. But all of the millions and millions of people that's on Section 8, they don't need that. Get out here and pay $1,600 in rent like everybody else. Or go find you a man to help you pay that rent. So now, what the government is doing, see, the government started all of this, okay? But what the government is doing, they started it, now they trying to put it all back together. The government started women saying, I don't need no man. The whole time she on Section 8, her rent $3, and she's getting $3,000-$4,000 in food stamps. She sell half of it, get her hair done, get her nails done, go to the club, and have the right, because it is a right, because everybody has preferences, to turn her nose up at a man and say, hey, how you doing? Can I buy you a drink? Man, you look like you broke. You look like you a bum. Excuse me? So this is some strange stuff. America started this about 60 years ago, but it's gotten out of control. So now the government is trying to put it back together to where you got to get out here and find somebody to help you, live with your parents, or get married. Find you a man. Do something. But we ain't giving you no more handouts. Stop having all these damn kids. That's what's going on. That's the pattern. But like I said, there's a bigger pattern in all of this. You just got to stick around and I'm going to show you.
I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to these ones that your mama been on Section 8 all her life, and she ripping and running and doing this and doing that, and then you seen she was on Section 8, paid $3 rent. So now you, as a young girl, because you done got pregnant and you got a baby, you go run out there and get on Section 8, and you ain't working, and you having child after child after child, and y'all all on Section 8 getting food stamps, $1,000 a month. And no, that's all about to stop. That's who I'm talking to. Okay? Trump said that's enough. So for us people that goes to work, that's working, he said you got to have at least 30 hours. Okay? 30 hours a week to qualify for the program.
Trump administration has revoked a decision that would have protected roughly 600,000 Venezuelans from deportation. The move means some Venezuelans with TPS could...
I want y'all to remember what she just said. A person has to make 30 hours a week to get food stamps. Stick a pin in that. because this is going to be important later on in the show. Think about that. 30 hours a week.
Could be facing deportations as early as 2 months from now.
That do you think is more at risk out of all those people? The ones that committed crimes, they're gonna be kicked out.
The news that we woke up for today must have been as frustrated as they have been for me, even for Trump supporters, because it hits home. It's different. It hits straight home.
Yeah, I know it hits differently, doesn't it? That wake-up call always hits differently.
I come from a very hardworking family. I've done everything by the...
I know this might seem like I'm all over the place, but I'm not. I just talked about the whole food stamp situation. Now we're going back to immigration and the deportation of immigrants, illegal immigrants. Remember what I said at the beginning of the show. All of this stuff has a major pattern. Okay? Look at this woman. She can pass for a white girl. A lot of these Hispanics come here. You see, when we go to their country, they love us over there. When we go to the Philippines, we go to Mexico, we go to the DR, the Brazil, Venezuela, the women in that country love us men because we bring American dollars. We're like at the top of the food chain. But when they come here, a woman like her, she won't fool with a black man. You know, she's very particular about who she fools with. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they've already identified who has the power in this country. They already know the history of slavery. They already know the history of, you know, the water hoses and the German shepherds getting put on black people that marched. They already know the history. So a woman like her, who's a Venezuelan, will come over here and identify as being a white girl. Ooh, you black, I don't date black people. But if they ship her back to her country and one of the passport bros go down there and she see him at a resort, she gonna be all over it. Hey, Poppy, you want a good time, Poppy? You know, this is reality. This is life. These people come over here, and I've seen it because I know Mexicans. I know Hispanic people. When they come here, they act like they white. And it's not just them. It's the Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Indian, the Hindus, all of them people. When they come here, they date white men. When they come here, they don't hang with black people. They don't fuck with us like that. Every blue moon, if you're a black man that pulls up in a BMW or a Rolls Royce, yeah, you might pull a Venezuelan woman. She might be fine as hell. But the overall message I'm trying to explain to you is these people have already identified who's the power. That's the reason why the pattern in this is, that's why they voted for Trump. They voted against their own self-interest. I'm almost willing to put my money on it that this woman right here voted for Trump. I'm almost willing, and everybody around her that knows her is a Trump supporter. Her family that lives here is probably a Trump supporter. They voted against their own interests because when they came here, they already identified as being white people. We don't want to identify as being brown and black. You know, you get her license plate out of her purse, it probably has ethnicity white. Because America doesn't have ethnicity Venezuelan. It doesn't have that. It has white, black, Latino. and she probably either has Latino or white. And a girl like her, she could almost pass for a white girl in Nashville somewhere. If you see her at a bar, you know, you go down Broadway and step into Club Hollywood, she might be in there with 3 or 4 white girls, look just like them. You can't even tell the difference. This is some deep stuff.
A lot. She works so hard. Last time I heard people talking like that, it was the tethers, but they fell silent when Border Patrol was whipping them with those horse bridles. Yeah, migrants tend to glom onto whatever white media talking points they think will help them, and they love to say that thing about the immigrants are hardworking, etc., etc., but white supremacy doesn't care about how hard you work. Slogans and talking points are not what white supremacy cares about. Yes, the ICE raids in New York and Chicago are PR stunts, obviously. Trump wants to be able to throw some red meat to the Fox News degenerates and say, we're taking action in those blue cities. It just goes to show all the members of the Trump White House are going out of their way to try to get headlines for themselves, but then again, team reflects leadership, as the old saying goes. But when it comes to Kristi Noem trying to make it look like she's personally leading all of these immigration raids, well, apparently she didn't realize the folks at home noticed that the story said she went into New York City with 90 ICE officers and cops, most of whom were there for her personal protection. And what did this 90-plus squad do? They arrested 20 individuals in 4 hours. 20. That's it. According to Officer Eric Adams of the NYPD, there's an estimated 470,000 illegal aliens who are living in his city. But of course, as crooked as Officer Eric Adams...
400,000 illegal immigrants living in New York, and they arrested 20. 20. This is a PR stunt. But Donald Trump did say every day of his administration they're going to send people back home. That's 4 years, 12 months in a year, 365 days a year. For 4 years, the man said he's going to send planes flying back to their country, dropping them off. We don't want you here. That's what he said. But so far, all I'm seeing in New York is PR stunts. But that doesn't mean nothing. Because in other places like Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, you know, it's going down. They shipping them out by the busload. So what Kristi Noem did was a PR stunt. But that don't mean just because that was a PR stunt that they're not rounding them up by the hundreds. Everybody's going to be touched by this. And for you Hispanics out here who done ran across my show, I'm going to tell y'all something. I've been around your people. I've dated a real Mexican woman who didn't have her green card. I had to break up with her. She sexed me up for like 2 months. And then one day we laying in bed, she gonna say, Marcus, I need my green card. I need $5,000. I was like, what? You got to be crazy. She couldn't even get a bank account. And the only reason she was here because she had a son by a white guy. And her son is an anchor baby. That's the only reason she stayed here so long. Her son's 14, 15 years old now. And he stays with his father. She works at a gas station, and the gas station guy who owns the gas station pays her under the table. He can't give her a W-2. So he cheats her out of her money. Everybody else gets paid good money for working at the gas station, but she don't get paid as much. He just give her some money. Then he sold her a car that one of his buddies had So when she gets paid, he takes his car payment out of her paycheck and just hands her the rest of the cash. This is how this woman is living. And I didn't know all of this. Me and her started dating. She came and started cooking and cleaning up my house. I'm like, man, you ain't got to clean up. I know how to clean up. I'll help you, you know. You ain't. She like, no, I clean up. You know, I cook for you. I cook your lunch. You know, she was a good woman. She didn't have a green card. I can't do nothing with you. You're going to send me to jail. Because they going to think that I'm a mule. Not a mule. I'm going to tell y'all the difference between a mule and a coyote. A mule smuggles drugs. A coyote smuggles people. And coyotes get a lot of time too, just like mules do. So I had to tell her, look, man, these people come over here and get to acting like I'm harboring a illegal immigrant. I can't mess with you. Let's get back to the show. I just had to, sometimes I like to get my stories out because I've been through some crazy stuff. Let's continue on.
The NYPD is, that number is surely far, far higher than that. But for the sake of this morning's briefing, we'll just go ahead and use that number. So, 20 illegals arrested in 4 hours. Well, at that rate, if they work at least 8 hours a day, every single day, including holidays and weekends, they might be able to arrest 14,600 illegals a year. 14,000 out of over 500,000. I think that's a tad bit shy of their goal. And I included the bit about the Venezuelans at the beginning was because now that you have this rescission of this Biden-era policy that was going to expedite the citizenship of these individuals, what this means is you got Venezuelans who are going to be finding themselves having to go back to Venezuela. And if they have problems with their government back home, they're going to have to actually confront that government and change things as opposed to running from the fight. But understand something. A lot of the people who have been coming to the U.S. from Venezuela, what they thought they were going to do was that they were going to basically make themselves the new Cubans. In other words, the new Hispanic exiles from this or that regime who were...
Before the professor gets into his spiel, because he's going to go on a rant, okay? He's going to go on a rant, and everything he says in his rant is true. The Cubans... I met Cubans. I've been to Florida. I've lived in Florida. I lived in Miami. I'm going to tell y'all people something. Cubans do not like black Americans like that over here. Now, when you go over there to Cuba, you know, to visit, oh, they love that American dollar. But when they come here, Cubans could be as black as me. But they going to act like they white people. Because they already know where the power is. And now the Venezuelans act the same way. Now listen to this rant.
Going to come to the United States, and basically they were going to snuggle up to the Republican Party and say, hey, we're dealing with some sort of pseudo-socialist in our home country, and because of that, we want to be honorary members of the oppressor class. That's what you got going on in Florida. Some of the most mouth-frothing anti-black racists that you've ever seen have been those Cuban exiles and their relatives who have come to the United States. You got a bunch of folk from Venezuela, racist as the day is long against black people. And for a lot of them, the main thing that they've got against the current regime in Venezuela is because of the fact that the Maduro administration is continuing the policies of his predecessor, Hugo Chavez. And one of the things that Hugo Chavez did was he basically withdrew the clean bill of health that the Blancos had in the government down there. He started bringing in people who were not part of the Blanco ruling class. This displeased not only the individuals who were in charge there, but also the U.S. who have been getting a free ride from Venezuela's oil. And as far as they're concerned, hey, they're sitting on top of the largest oil reserve on the planet, potentially, and that being the case, it's in the U.S.'s backyard, and if Chavez won't play ball, then they need to remove him and get somebody in there who will. But my point is, even though you and I can all see that the majority of the people coming in from Venezuela are not white, obviously these are brown people and some from darker than that, nonetheless, they identify as white. That's how they see themselves. And as black Americans have observed, at least for the last 150 plus years, certainly since the Civil War, when the first massive waves of European immigrants began to come to the United States, all of these folk around the world, they already know what the racial situation is in the United States. They already know the rules of racism. and that if they're trying to apply to get themselves a place on the ladder higher than black folks, they know what they gotta do. The audition process is you go ahead and make it clear that you are hostile toward foundational black Americans, and that's how you begin the process of getting your honorary...
I need to stop that real quick, because he said a few things in his rant. Honorary white citizens is what they want to consider themselves as. They don't want to consider themselves as brown or black people. Okay, I need y'all to understand that. He also said something about foundational black Americans. Understand what that means. 21 Savage is not an foundational black person. Not a foundational black American. He's from England. What he's saying is foundation. This is a new word that I hear a lot of black media spouting out these days. Foundational black Americans. What he's trying to say basically is the original black Americans, the great-great-grandsons and great-great-granddaughters of slaves. We are the foundational black people. And these Latino immigrants and illegals that come over here, they already know the racial situation in this country. So when they come over here, they can't stand black people, even though we ain't done nothing to these people. There has been gang wars in California between the Hispanics and the blacks, because when they come over here, they don't fool with black people, because they already know you get to hanging out with them black people, white people are going to try to deport you. They know what the bread is getting buttered on, what side the bread is getting buttered on. They know. Let's get back into it.
Member of the oppressor class code. And this is what's been happening for the longest time. Migrant gangs have been targeting black residents and even legal migrants who have been just as racist toward black Americans. And this is what happens when people begin to think of themselves as honorary members of the oppressor class. In Latin America, the Blancos run everything, and they don't let the mestizos even pretend to think of themselves as white. But in the US, because that distinction wasn't officially made until the 1970s, and because these state and even federal governments played along and allowed people to claim to be white on driver's licenses and census forms, a lot of those immigrants thought that that meant they were actually on the team.
We grow tomatoes here in the Ruskin, Florida area, as well as the Homestead.
I'm going to stop there before we get to him, because like I said, there's a clear pattern to all of this. Okay? It's a clear pattern. And the clear pattern is, we already talked about the pattern with the food stamps. Now let's talk about the pattern with Latinos and other Europeans that come here. They want to be a part of the oppressor class. They want to identify with this white man that's on your screen. They want to be buddy-buddy with him. They want to vote like him. Oh, you like Trump? I like Trump too. Yes, we're going to go down and we're going to vote for Trump. That's my Hindu Indian voice. Yes, we're going to vote for Trump. We're going to go down and vote for Trump. They voted against their own interests, because these people really rather deal with the black people, because they've already broken us in. That's a whole nother discussion for another show. Understand what I just said, because that's going to be on another show. But they rather deal with us than deal with you Latinos. They'll let you work in their fields. They'll let you pick the corn. They'll let you pour the concrete and build houses, like that Mexican guy you saw at the beginning of the show. He clearly said, if you don't like us, then come out here and pour this concrete. There's a clear pattern here. They come here and want to identify as white. They want to take our resources that we have earned from blood, sweat, and tears. Because black people in America has fought in every war in this country. From the Revolutionary War, the Indian War, Civil War, Korean War, Vietnam, World War I, World War II. We black Americans, the great-great-great-great-grandson of slaves, have been in those wars. We fought for this country. So we have the right before you do. But what those people do is they come here and want to identify with the power structure. And the power structure ain't even the power structure anymore. Because immigrants, like I said on my last show, white immigrants from Italy, from German descent, Polish descent, Jewish descent, those are white people that have come here and they've taken over our government. The white slave owners of yesteryear, most of them are poor people, poor white people. They have no power. That's why you saw those white men in Charleston marching, talking about Jews will not replace us. They wasn't talking about black people won't replace them. They're talking about Jews won't replace them. But they already have. I talked about this on my last show. You've already been replaced. So you got white immigrants from the 40s and the 50s have taken over the government, and now they're the ruling white class in America. They're trying to kick out the Latino immigrants because they know how powerful immigrants can be if they stick together, because they did it. It's a pattern. They know they did it. They came here in the 40s and the 50s. Donald Trump is a third generation immigrant. His wife is an immigrant. Think about what I'm saying. Donald Trump's Donald Trump's grandfather was a pimp who tried to avoid the German draft and came here to America through Ellis Island. And when he got to the ghettos of New York, he became a pimp. I studied this. I read up on it. Everything I'm saying is not made up. You can go check this out for yourself. His grandfather moved out to Seattle, moved out to Washington, then came back to America, had Donald Trump's father, they became rich through real estate, and now you got Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an immigrant, third generation. Donald Trump family wasn't here since the beginning like us. So what I'm saying is, immigrants who are white have already taken over the country. And now they're kicking out the Latino immigrants because they know in 40 or 50 years the Latinos are going to be so strong they might seize the government, just like they seized the government. It's a blueprint. Let's continue on.
Florida area. The Mari Company is an almost 90-year-old company. I am a third generation along with my brothers and cousins. The company actually started in Boston with my grandfather and his two brothers. What motivates me to stay in the business and what excites me of farming is being outside and watching crops grow and produce product is exciting.
The reason why we're talking about him today is because he is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump and is now worried that he might get exactly what he voted for. So on Monday, after Donald Trump was inaugurated, he signed multiple executive orders regarding immigration, One declaring an emergency at the southern border, another designating cartels as terrorist groups, which authorizes him to bomb them in Mexico, mind you, so that's a little bit worrying. He also suspended refugee programs, which resulted in the flight cancellation of more than 1,600 Afghans, which means they now can't come, even though they were cleared for settlement, and their lives are in limbo and could be in danger as a result. He reinstated the Remain in Mexico policy, and he also took aim at the 14th Amendment, which is birthright citizenship, by ordering federal agencies to not recognize babies who were born here as U.S. citizens if their parents were undocumented. Furthermore, the Wall Street Journal reports that Trump's mass deportation...
I need to say something about that real quick. It's in the Constitution that any child born on American soil is an American citizen. He can't change that. He might have wrote an executive order saying that's possible, but it's not. He's lying. So that aspect of it is not true. He can write it all day long. That's a hope and dream of his. But he's going to have to get Congress to change that in the Constitution. And Congress is not going to change that. And this is the reason why Congress is not going to change that. There's a lot of American men for decades who leave the military and settle down overseas and find a wife and might bring their wife back to the country. Their kids are American citizens. There's a lot of men who don't have kids overseas or over here in America by foreigners, but they have foreigner mistresses who might get pregnant, and even though they might not want their wife to find out about it, they're going to want that child to be an American citizen. So Congress is not going to change that. Regardless of whether you're an illegal immigrant or not, if your child is born here, he will get a Social Security card. He will be an American citizen. You might not be. You might be considered an anchor, having an anchor baby. You know, the anchor is keeping you here because of the baby. But, you know, Congress has to change that. Let's get back into it.
Deportations are set to begin next Tuesday, starting with a large-scale raid in Chicago with around 200 officers. Now, before mass deportation officially kicks off next week, farmers like Tony DeMare are pleading with Trump to not go through with it, because after DeSantis cracked down on immigrants in Florida, I'm assuming he voted for DeSantis too, well, DeMare's farm was negatively affected by it. So if Trump follows through with even more deportations, Tony feels like his farm is in genuine danger if he loses even more of his immigrant workforce. Bloomberg reports, Florida tomato grower Tony DeMare is all for President-elect Donald Trump slapping tariffs on the Mexican farmers who undercut him by paying workers a fraction of what he does. He wants to stop illegal border crossings and likes the idea of deporting migrants convicted of serious crimes. But when it comes to Trump's border promises to expel all 11 million undocumented people living in the country, DeMare thinks it would be a disaster for American farmers. Quote, we have to secure our borders south and north, but you have to have a workforce in this country, said DeMare, whose family has 4,000 acres of tomato farms in Florida and California.
Now we finna bring everything together. You see, this man you see on his screen, remember what I said. Everything has a pattern, but there's a bigger pattern here. Number one, at the first of the show, I showed you where people are getting upset about him stopping food stamps in Section 8. Well, guess what? A man like this, all he has to do is go down there to the DHS office and tell all of the caseworkers, I have jobs. Listen carefully, people. Because you finna see a lot of baby mamas out there plucking oranges and tomatoes. Cause I remember when me and my uncle, we first came down here to Tennessee, they had this thing called day labor. And when you want to pick up an extra $75 to $100 a day, you would go down to day labor and they would have farmers or businessmen pulled up in their trucks and waiting for people that come out the day labor office, and he would just pick 5 or 6 of you, put you on the back of his truck, and drive you out to his farm and have you do some farm work for him. And he would pay each of you $75 for that day, for that 8 hours of work. So you're about to see, because now it's all coming together. The whole pattern is coming together. A lot of these people are suffering on their industries because they hire a lot of immigrants. White people don't want them here. So even though this man is hurting a savvy businessman, if I was his business coach, and which I'm not giving no legal advice, I'm not giving no business advice, but if I was his business coach, I would tell him, instead of you complaining, asking him to stop the whole immigration thing, go down to the local DHS office, give your name and number to each of the women and men that work there as caseworkers. And when they have a woman that's able-bodied, or a man, because men are on food stamps too, that are able-bodied, that come in here wanting food stamps, you tell them, listen, I'm going to try to get you these stamps, but I need you to get these 30 hours a week. I got a man right here who needs work. He needs some workers. Call this number, and I'm going to call him and tell him you going to call him. I'm going to make sure you call him. Call this number, and I want you out there working. You got to give me at least 30 hours a week. So now you got 2 problems solved. You got 2 problems solved. You got the food stamps that got snatched up, and if you want to keep your stamps, you got to get out here and do at least 30 hours. And then you got these farmers and these construction workers that are losing workers because of the immigration bill, where they're transporting immigrants back to their homes. Everything's coming together. The whole pattern is coming together. Now you see what the administration is doing. And it's still going to affect a lot of people. It's going to be some rough waters before guys like him figure it out. I figured it out because I studied the patterns. He probably sitting at home right now scratching his head like, damn, I don't really want to hire some lazy ass black dude, got gold teeth in his mouth. He ain't finna get out here and pluck these tomatoes like that Mexican guy did. But guess what? That's who you gonna have to deal with. I don't want to pick some baby mama, man. She lazy as hell. She come out here, tear up my crops. She can't pick half the oranges that Mexican girl that they shipped back to Mexico did. She come here with 2 bushes. That Mexican girl had 20 bushes. But that's what you're gonna have to deal with until these people that's coming off these food stamps and coming off this Section 8 learn how to work again. Because you got to realize some of these people are generational Section 8 holders. Some of these people are generational food stamp holders. We had food stamps when we were kids. But as we got older and my mother joined the military, we started seeing work ethics. So me and most of the people in my family started seeing work ethics. But a lot of people don't have that. They come from these hoods all over America, and they're used to gimme, gimme, gimme. Because in America, you got givers and you got takers. And the vast majority of people in America are takers. They don't know how to give. So it's always take. So now that the government is taking all this stuff from them, now they got to get out here and fend for themselves. It's finna be real crazy out here. I'm here for it.
California. There's no doubt that this is going to restrict and put pressure on farming and many other industries that rely on this workforce. The bid.
You know, I want to end this show up by letting y'all know that I don't like Donald Trump, and it ain't no secret. I think he's a straight out bigot. But I'ma clap for him. This is a power move. And like I said, it's gonna be some rough waters for the next couple of years until these people learn how to work again. Because when you kick out all these immigrants, industries are going to be failing. But it's up to these guys who are running these big businesses. You got to go down there. You got to get in that pickup truck with all that dust on it, drive your ass down there to the DHS office and tell them caseworkers, look, I need 20 people for the summer. And you need to get these girls and these guys that's on food stamps working. We got to come together. And there you go. I hope y'all learned something about the pattern today. You know, this is the Daily Read, and I'm out.
The business, motherfucker.
The Daily Read.
Business.